Hello, Devlin Bishop here with you, and welcome to another edition of Devlin's Pirate Radio Show. That makes me Devlin. And thank you for joining me here for another episode. This is actually episode 81. I can't believe that I have made it this far. We're just a few episodes away from hitting number 100. And I know I was going to persevere with this, but I'm going to keep going. I always worry that I'm going to run out of things to talk about. But then I keep thinking of a whole bunch of things I haven't talked about yet. And, I guess if I repeat a few things, it's not so horrible because I'm sure maybe, I'll hit new perspectives on it or something. I have a really good episode today, or at least the next two episodes coming up I think are really interesting, and I can't wait to talk about them. I'll definitely never run out of stuff to talk about if I keep messing up in my life, because that's why I've decided to start the show with this segment because, well, I hate to admit it, I am not a perfect person, but your old friend Devlin screwed up pretty big time. And normally this is not something I would have advertised, but it's happened a couple weeks ago and it's weighing heavy on my mind, which means that usually means I need to talk it out. And even if it makes me look like a bit of a douche. But the thing about this show is I always said this was going to be me as real as I possibly can get. I'm not proud of what I did, and in no way am I trying to do this to shame the other person involved. In fact, I'm not even going to reveal their identity. Last year, I went through a dark period that some of you may have remembered. For those of you who don't know, I just went through a dark period that I hadn't been in a very long time. And I was really starting to feel left behind by people, that people were basically using me and then just leaving my life. And it was really getting me down. But one of the things I said during that time was that I didn't really want to meet a lot of new people. I'm the kind of person who all through my life I've met people. And when I look at my Facebook page, I'm always astonished at how many people I have kept from all those times. And I cherish that. And I've got some really great friends from all those different times. But anyhow, I hit a point where I'm done meeting people. And I was going to start pushing away people if I started seeing that they were going to eventually push me away. This comes a lot from, just to give a little background in my defense, basically, a lot of this comes from I have had some really close friends that have gotten married or gotten jobs or something that told me that I'd always be very special in their life. And then as soon as a girl or a guy came into their lives, I was pushed to the side. Now, I talked about this. I think there's an episode where I talked about it called Left Behind. And I was surprised that some people actually said they feel it too, and thank you for talking about that, because many people don't. Because I think in this world you're not supposed to have that emotion. When people suddenly aren't there, you're supposed to be strong, be happy for them. You can be happy for them, but when suddenly they just don't want nothing to do with you, or they use constant excuses, and I get it, life gets busy, especially if you get married and have kids and your job, but I don't believe that you have absolutely no time to send off a little email or a little note or go for a quick cup of coffee to see these people once in a blue moon. Now, people may call me a high maintenance friend. Maybe I am, but I just think that if somebody means something to you, people text hundreds of times a day, and you're telling me that life gets too busy that you can't send an email, that the best thing you can do is post something that says, I'm horrible at keeping in touch with people. You know what? that's fine. Whatever your excuses, that's fine. But I don't buy that you have absolutely no time to send a 10-second email that says, how's it going? I miss you. So anyhow, that's kind of to set up why I said I'm going to not make new friends and I'm going to push them away as soon as I see they're going to start pushing me away. Well, none of that happened last year. But recently I pushed somebody away. Now, I don't know if this is permanently away. I may have lost them forever. They may be listening to this. I know they have listened to my show in the past. As I said, I'm not going to name them. It in no way is this shaming them. This is actually more of a, I feel really shitty. I feel bad about it. So anyhow, last year I had an acquaintance in my life. And early last year we became good friends. Like we talked a lot, chatted online, hung out. And we started, just doing things together and had some great experiences. And one thing I loved about this guy was that he had so many set plans in his life. And I don't mean just like little plans. He had huge, epic, like when I first heard them, for a split second I might have think, he might be a bit of a madman because he has like this big thing planned. But the more I talked to him, the more he always seemed to work hard about getting them. And he would research things and find the next thing that could get him to it. Now, for a little while, I actually felt that I might have been one of those stepping stones. And I even talked to Mike about it. I said, well, I really like this friendship, but somehow I sometimes feel that I might be just a stepping stone. But as the friendship built, I realized that there was a real friendship growing there. And I still always had that in the back of my mind. But and I'd ask him, well, what happens if you fall in love? Or, a woman, steals your heart away and he always said that she would have to be respectful of what he had to do. So he didn't know if that was in the game plan because he was so committed to what he wanted to do. So anyhow, we talked about everything and it was great. We were honest, open. We talked about really dark stuff and that was amazing. And I even think he was starting to get a grasp on me. So then what happened was one day he actually, now I know he's been going out, looking, having, some good sex and looking for, people to have fun with and stuff. And then one day he wrote me an email that basically said, I've been thinking about it and I think I want the wife, I want the kids, I want to start breeding. Maybe not in those terms, I might be paraphrasing. And I was going through a little bit of a blue period and I basically wrote an email back that just said, well, it was a nice run while it happened. I guess as soon as you find this woman, I'm going to be done. And basically, you know what? I wish you the best in life. That's all I've ever wanted for you. And I hope you find it. So anyhow, he wrote me back and said that, my friendship meant a lot and that, he wasn't just going to do that. Now, again, I have heard this. I remember being on a guy's wedding day where he told me nothing would change, or even if it changed a little bit, he would always make time with me. That person is absolutely no longer in my life in any way, shape, or form. When we do bump into each other in anything, all I get is excuses and ridiculous excuses. So anyhow, I basically put it out there. So anyhow, everything was fine. We dealt with it and everything was good. And then what happened was I noticed that we kept trying to find times to get together and I was busy, he was busy. But I started noticing that, I don't know, I seemed to be reaching out more and then he was, as in I would make time for things and then he would, give me like excuses like, well, not excuses because I understand he got a new job and basically, he had a new shift and stuff like that. And basically he, would tell me things. But then I'd start doing the math and realize, well, I understand he needs sleep, but when I'm asking him to do stuff, should be plenty of time to hang out. So if he doesn't want to hang out with me or go to a movie that I suggested, just tell me that. And then one of my big pet peeves is when people kind of invite themselves to situations. Like I mention I'm doing something, and then they basically question me on it, and then I invite them. And then what happens is, and I've had this happen by multiple times, and not by, this gentleman. But anyhow, I hate when people invite themselves to stuff or try to get an invite to something, and then I invite, because I'm usually pretty open about that stuff. And then they cancel on you with no reason. Oh, I just don't think I can make it. And that starts burning my biscuits. So anyhow, when I write people, I like to end with little hugs and stuff like that. Like I put the hugs with the brackets around it. That's my thing. People know me. People return it. And we kind of started doing that too. And after one of his emails, when he asked how I was doing, he basically sent that to me. I didn't respond because I was still going through a blue period and a little pissed. And he just wondered why I didn't return the, even just a little email with, hugs or, haven't been able to contact you. And I'm not proud of it. I basically just wrote a really bitter email, quick, sweet, saying, well, I didn't think my hugs meant that much to you. And, I'm sure you'll find a woman that's going to give you so much more sex and kids and stuff like that. And, that's cool because that's what you want and that's what you're going to get. So anyhow, he basically gave me some time and then sent an email saying, that he still cares for me and just gave me some time because he knew I was going through my little Devlinisms, which I get it when people send that. It also pisses me off because it's a lot more than that. And then a couple of days later, I sent a note that, he didn't respond to in any way. And then finally, I just kind of lost it and said, okay, message loud and clear. I wish you the best in life. I see no bad things. Take care of yourself. And that's pretty much where it is right now. Now, from that, I don't know. It's not like we unfriended each other or sent really horrible texts. But I feel shitty that it's kind of, I did that. And I'm taking all the blame. Maybe it's the martyr in me because I know it, I started this. I'm pushing him away. And so I do take responsibility. I do. And as I said, the reason I'm recording this is because it's in my mind. It doesn't, keep me awake at night, but there are times that I kind of miss talking with this person or going out for, a coffee or just, hanging out. And, and I realized that this is the first time I've literally pushed someone away before they pushed me away. Now, I don't regret things in general because I am a believer that I don't believe in regrets. Robbie Williams, one of my favorite musicians, sang a line, "No regrets, they don't work." And I agree with that because I believe I did things at the time and I'm not going to regret something I did that I thought was the right thing to do at the time. Now, that being said, does that mean that if I could go back in time and change my actions, then I would? But I basically own up to all the mistakes I make, and I did make a big one on this one. But this is my own ego now talking. Even though I do wish I could go back and deal with this a little better, and who knows, in the off chance, there might even be a chance that this is still salvageable. As I said, it's not like we unfriended or unfollowed each other, you know, but, you know, if it is, I have to say that the way the situation has been handled on my side, and I have apologized. I don't know if I mentioned that in the story. I have actually sent an apology basically saying I'm an ass and I do things stupidly sometimes and I own up to them. So there was a thing. But when I say sometimes the way this is handled, as in, well, I'm going to give you some time to deal with this kind of thing, or I understand you're just being Devlin and stuff like that. To me, that tells me that maybe, and this again is my ego writing huge parts of the story, I might be right in the future of this. Because as soon as he found a girlfriend or a wife, I have a feeling I would have been shafted just by seeing the way it's dealing now. I could totally be wrong. Maybe this is just my way of, you know, trying to find a way that says, well, at least I'm a little bit right. But I do believe that when I see the way, yeah, I know how I dealt with it. Some of it was shitty. Some of it I did take the high road, and he's taken the high road quite a lot. But some of the other little things that he's done tells me that I might actually be right of the future, as in I would have been gone, or I was just a stepping stone, or I would have become an acquaintance. I'm done kind of being acquaintance with people. I've got a ton of people on Facebook where I'm just an acquaintance to. And don't get me wrong, I love that. But when I make a friendship now, I want it to be genuine. I want it to be real. In fact, I'm almost considering that all the real friends that I have now are pretty much the ones I'm going to have. As in, I might meet new people, but they're just going to be acquaintances. So I don't know what you take out of this, but I just wanted to set the record straight and tell you that I'm not perfect. And yes, your favorite your favorite host of your podcast here makes mistakes. And if by chance, and I don't think he is, but if by chance he is listening to this, I do apologize, and I do miss our friendship. I've said everything possible here. I've said some of it in emails, so there's not much more I can do. As far as I'm just going, this part of it is all done now. Whether there's a future, I guess that's up to both of us and what we decide. But from this point, I'm not going to dwell on the things that have happened in the past. I can't apologize for them anymore, any less. So I do apologize, and I do feel crappy. And the fact that I'm using my podcast that could be heard anywhere in the world to get this out in the open and tell people, yeah, I can be an asshat sometimes, should tell you just how genuine this is. Because if this is something that didn't mean that much to me, I wouldn't have wasted a segment. I would have talked about cheese or, cult movies or, something like that. Anyhow, on that note, I'm finished. I've done my confessional. Thank you for listening. I like that you never interrupted me once, because I really needed that out. And if you do have some advice for me or want to tell me, boy, you are a asshat, don't be afraid to email me or let me know. I can take some criticism. I might cry a bit, but I can still take it. And on our next segment, happier things, because I move on. I talk about going up to a place that's very dear to the people of Hamilton. And I finally got to go for my first time, and I went with Mike and my nephew Jonathan. We had an amazing time, and I will be talking about that next. Welcome back to Devlin's Pirate Radio Show, and we are going to change up the tone a little bit. Well, actually, yes and no. I don't think the tone got so dark. I was just being honest, and this segment is more fun, but I'm still being honest. So I guess as long as the tone is honest, Doesn't matter if it goes dark or light. It's me being honest, and you don't get that a lot in the world nowadays. So I try to keep it as real as possible. A couple of weeks ago, my nephew came into town and for a visit, and we had a really great time. We went to the drive-in and we did some of our regular traditional things, but he actually stayed over on a weekend this time, which was a rare time because usually he comes over on a weekday and Mike's working. But since Mike was off, I thought we should maybe do something where we all could all bond together because I know Jonathan has always said he'd really like to get to know Mike a little more. He already knows him well, but it'd be fun to hang out together. So I like that idea. So I had no clue what to do. So I basically put in a search engine and just wrote things to do in Hamilton. I know certain things, but a lot of the festivals and stuff I know are not, you know, only available at certain times. And, I wanted to find something that would really appeal to, a younger guy. Not like us old guys like Mike and I who would be fine doing anything. But anyhow, I'm not saying he's needy or anything. I know Jonathan would basically follow me anywhere as long as we were spending time together. And so I looked, and there was a lot of stuff mentioned, but the one that stood out for me was one I thought we should give a try, and that was the Canadian Warplane Heritage Museum. Hamilton is lucky to have a place like this, and it's up in the Mount Hope area, and it is really a wonderful place. I've never been, but I've always kind of had it, in the back of my head, like one day it would be nice to check it out. But Mike and I don't usually, when we decide to go out and do something, we usually wind up, maybe walking around a beach or on a park or going shopping. We don't think, hey, let's go to a museum, And so we decided to give it a shot. So we didn't even tell Jonathan where we're going, but I told Mike, this is good because we got Hamilton Comic-Con coming up, and this year it's at the Canadian Warplane Heritage, and this would be great to find out where we were actually going and also go. And I told Mike, I don't know if you're going to like it, but you're going to do it. So he was up for it, and we all went. When we got there, first of all, I have to say, I was very impressed by this place. I don't get impressed easy. I won't lie to you. I'm not a cultural kind of person. I do enjoy art galleries. Now, like, if I'm in the mood, I can go to an art gallery and I enjoy it. I like looking at all the different paintings and sculptures and stuff. But museums with me, I really have to be in the mood. So the fact that this was the day and you better get in the mood no matter what. But this is a museum in a different way. It's not just looking at things through glass. You're literally standing next to these gigantic jets and planes that were a part of our history. And I know a couple of people, friends of mine, Peter Jonathan and Kim Jonathan, and their family absolutely love going to this. In fact, I always love seeing pictures of Peter when he goes. Don't get me wrong, I love seeing pictures of the others, very good looking family. But Peter always looks like he's like an 8-year-old kid just running lost in this. And this is a man who stands like probably about 6'5" or something. Big guy, one of the sweetest guys you'll ever meet. I'm hoping to have him on the show real soon. But anyhow, he looks just so great. And he's actually one of the reasons, because, he posts a lot of pictures, and his daughter, Crystal, and they post a lot of pictures, and that's what said, I should try this out. So when we got there, it was quite nice. And, Jonathan, being a, young boy, man. Sure, I keep calling him a boy. He's like in his 20s now. Anyhow, he absolutely loved it. But I did too. Like, I had a lot of fun there. But the thing that shocked me the most is how touristy Mike became. Like, he literally was with the camera taking pictures of us and planes and things. And it wasn't just like me asking him to, like, oh, grab a picture of that. I think we need that. It was literally, I'd be talking with Jonathan and I'd turn around and Mike was over somewhere taking a picture of something. And he's actually really good at it. In fact, a lot of the pictures you're seeing right now are all from him taking them. And I think he does a really good job. Anyhow, I am so impressed that we have got this museum here. And I know a lot of people know of it, but I think this should get promoted more. First of all, it was Labor Day weekend, and I have to say I was impressed that so many people were going to it. You know, because sometimes there's nothing sadder when you go to a museum and there's nobody there. It's like all this history, all this culture. You know, maybe you're just going at the wrong time, but nobody's there. The parking lot was full, and there were a lot of people there, and you can tell they were enjoying themselves. And the place is beautifully held together. Like they have lots of people of all ages helping run it. It was lovely to see a lot of the older people who were talking about the planes and actually taking people onto tours and stuff, explaining things to them. You know, real pilots that were like, you know, sometimes revving up the planes and sometimes they would take off and stuff. And it was a real kick. Now, my obsession with planes, and I don't really call it obsession, but I didn't really start loving planes, and I hate to be stereotypical, but I'm probably not the only one, is of course my love of Top Gun. One of my favorite movies, definitely one of my favorite Tom Cruise movies, and I just love that movie to death, and that got me loving planes. But a lot of you might not know, I'm actually a really big fan of World War II, as in, well, that sounds horrible. I love World War II! No, I mean that I love that era. I love the music, I love the way people dressed, and I love seeing the planes of that, and seeing that kind of stuff was just amazing. Now, I knew instantly I don't know my planes, I don't know my jets, so did I learn anything from it? Maybe a little, but probably not much. But that didn't stop me from enjoying this, because it was just, well, the place looked beautiful, it was set up beautiful. I liked that you could be inside and then you could go outside to see some of the planes there. And like there were tours to go on the planes, but they were very expensive. And although I was looking for experiences, I wasn't ready to, you know, dole out several $100s for, you know, just stepping on a plane. There were a couple of opportunities where you could go on planes, and it was quite nice just doing that. Anyhow, again, my biggest surprise was seeing Mike being all touristy, and I even said to him, you know, God, if I knew you liked this, we would have done this ages ago. So we may be looking for other things to do like this. And the good thing about it, too, is that Mike and I have a similar sense of humor. Even if it's something we didn't enjoy, we'd probably entertain ourselves. And I think that's a great way to know that you have found the perfect person to be with, is because if you guys can relate to the same thing, like I've seen some couples that go to things where, you know, one is like, oh, this is so cultural, and the other one's just making wisecracks. And, you know, the other one's like hitting the other one and, you know, stuff like that. But I like when you see those couples that are like, oh, yeah, this is very cultural. And then they're like, you know, yeah, right, boring as hell, you know, and they relate to it. But I absolutely wanted to promote the Canadian Warplane Heritage Museum. Now, I'm sure most of you have already been. You know, I'm coming late into the game of this. But if by chance you've never been, or it interests you one little ounce, this is an amazing place to go. And, you know, it's not just for older people. Young kids love seeing the jets and the planes and, you know, the memorabilia they have there. And it's actually quite reasonably priced. We went there and, you know, I think for average admission, it was something like $13, which I think nowadays, you know, when you see some of the costs of certain things to do, I think it was well worth it. I even like this guilty as charged. When I go to these places, my favorite place to go is the gift shop. And I really liked their gift shop. They had a huge gift shop. And I love that I was really obsessed with the fact that they had model planes. Not because I'd ever want to do model planes. I think I tried to do a model a long time ago when I was a kid, and I just didn't have the patience, which says a lot because, to be honest with you, I'm one of the most patient people out there with certain things. But I like the fact that kids who like this could go and pick up a model plane Because I always liked that. I think my brothers did it, or at least one of my brothers did it. I think Ernie did it. Or I know somebody who did it, and I always used to like that. And I'm actually surprised when I go into hobby shops and see how many models, because you just don't hear about people doing them anymore. But they must be, because they still have big stores for them, and of course, apparently the Canadian Warplane Heritage Museum. I've always been about promoting stuff in Hamilton, so as soon as I did this, I knew I wanted to talk about it. It was, to me, it was just like a magical place, and I was so, I get impressed when I see things that are in Hamilton, and I know people spend all their time putting down Hamilton, but honestly, when I see places like this, I'm like, okay, people who are putting down Hamilton are not going everywhere. They literally are going from work to home and reading the news about all the bad things, because Hamilton's got so many wonderful places. And honestly, this is one of them. I would say this is top of the game. We're going to be going to it again, but it's going to look a lot different because it's going to be filled with memorabilia and celebrities and things, because they're having the Hamilton Comic Con there this year, and I'm really looking forward to it. And seeing the space, I really can see there's going to be a lot of room, and I am so looking forward to that. I'll probably do something on that as well. But I can't get over the nostalgia of it, and I loved seeing the love of people. Like when we even went into the canteen, I wanted to grab a quick drink, and it was full. Like, I loved seeing that people were enjoying this. And I thought to myself, this is kind of how museums need to be. Kind of a little interactive. Maybe they are. Maybe I just haven't gone in so long. Because when I was a kid, you'd go to a museum and you'd see a lot of reading and stuff. And don't get me wrong, you can do all that there if you want to read about it and learn about it and stuff. But I love just the fact that that this was very interactive, and you were like literally walking right beside the planes. It wasn't like 8 feet away. You could take pictures with it and stuff like that. And I loved seeing that people were going to it. And you could see a lot of these people were regulars. Like, I loved seeing there were so many older people that you could see go here on a regular basis. And even the canteen I found charming, although it looked like it took a long time to get food because it was very busy. But I liked that it even looked like it was just a bunch of, home style cooks. Which, you want some fries, you want a burger, like nothing special, nothing fancy, but just straight up meals. And I love that, because it wasn't just like, I don't know, it might have been, but it didn't feel like it was just processed stuff. From what I was seeing, it looked like it was just like Mom used to make. But as I said, people always talk about the joy to see children's faces when you take them into, like a toy store, or if you take them to a zoo, or if you take them to any place where their face is in wonderment. And it was lovely to see older people's face in wonderment. And it was wonderful to see that, I think it's just nice to see anybody's face having a great time and joy. My nephew absolutely loved the experience. He thanked me, and I know this is something he'll take with him. As he gets older, I know our time is going to be less and less, although I'm sure we're going to fight to try to stay as close as possible. But I love that we will have this memory, and who knows, maybe one day he'll have kids and they'll come visit and we'll do it again and check it out. I also love just seeing, Mike having a great time. I think Mike likes to do things, but I think sometimes he needs that little push. But I could not have guessed in a million years, but at the end of the day, he said that was a really good idea. I took a chance on something, and we all had a great time. We're going to share some of the pictures. If you're watching YouTube, you can check out some of the pictures during this segment, if you're interested. And you can see all how happy we are with big smiles on our faces. and enjoying the planes. And I urge you, although, I may be telling you it was, very full and it was great to see that, but this is something that should constantly be full. And I love that it was full on a Labor Day weekend because of the fact that it shows, because Labor Day, there's so many other things you can do. You can go up to the cottage, you can hang out with friends, you can go to the movies, you can, go hiking, you could do camping, whatever. But I liked the fact that this was on a weekend and we were basically, it was still doing pretty good. I love that. But I wanted to keep doing pretty good because this is something we should all be proud of. And so if you have any inklings to go to this, I urge you to give it a chance because it really is a beautifully taken care of place. It's not that far of a drive. It's more of a far of a drive than I thought because I always thought Mount Hope was just like right at the, top of the hill. So we had a little bit of a drive, but I wouldn't say it's that much. I think you'll enjoy it. And I certainly will go back, and not just for the Hamilton Comic Con. I definitely want to just go back and relive it and have some fun and remember all the good times we had the first time we went. Anyhow, when we come back, I'm going to share a topic that sometimes topics just pop up that I want to talk about because I couldn't have planned it. And this one certainly falls into that category. Because basically it started off as a status that I thought was going to go one way. A status on my Facebook, of course, I'm talking about. I thought it was going to go one way, but it went totally a different way. And it was so interesting, I felt it deserved a segment. That's coming up next, but we're going to take a short break till we get there. And welcome back. Devlin here with you, and thank you for sticking with us on this episode. We hope you're having a great time. I've had some people say to me that, how can you think of so much things to talk about? And I honestly don't know how to answer that, but sometimes I do have an answer, and that's just one. Sometimes things just pop in my head, and then I write them down and say, oh, I need to address that. Or not necessarily a need to, I want to sometimes. But the thing about life is that things are always changing up and things are happening and suddenly topics just show up and you decide, oh, I need to talk about this. And that's the case of this next post. I recently was going through a period. Now, I'm usually not, I usually am okay. I've come to realize that these are my looks, I grew up as a heavy, redheaded kid, who wore glasses later, when I was about probably 8 or 9, I had to get them. And, I know I'm not particularly good looking. And then some days I can look in the mirror and say, yeah, you're pretty hot. I have those days. I like to think all of us have those days. And, everybody has great days where you think, hey, I do you. You look in the mirror and say, I do you. And then, sometimes you have those days where you just don't feel very pretty or handsome or attractive. And I guess I was going through a little bit of that. I don't know, sometimes I walk down the street and I've got so much confidence and so much ego, and I just feel like it doesn't matter what I look like. I know who I am. I feel good. Other days, I just want to be somebody else, Maybe not personality-wise, but sometimes I just want to look great. And I know a lot of people go through this, but I just didn't realize how much until recently. I put on a status, and don't get me wrong, this is totally shallow. I know this is an absolute shallow thing. And I know it's the beauty inside and everything. But that being said, I need sometimes that I wish that I was just really handsome. I wish I turned heads. I wish I was, people wanted to just rip my clothes off and have their way with me. I know it's shallow and those things disappear in time, but honestly, so, sometimes I feel like that, okay? Yes, okay, and you know, sure, I know I'm kind of cute and like a big teddy bear and stuff, but sometimes I want more than that. Sometimes I see people and they're just so damn good looking, and it's just, to me, it's like a crime. Then you find out they're actually good people, then you find out they're talented, and you're like, what the fuck? What did I do in the lottery of life to not score some of that? And there's lots of excuses people can say. Well, I can go out and lose weight if I really wanted to, but that has nothing to do with it. Because I have a feeling I'd be one of those people that lose weight, and then I'd look in the mirror and not like myself. Like, honestly, I do. But anyhow, so I've decided to post on my status that I know this is shallow, and but I sometimes would give a lot to have one day where I was just absolutely desirable, fuckable, whatever you want to call it. And I said, and before you post how handsome I am, there is a big difference between teddy bear cute and everybody wants to have sex with you or spend time with you. I won't put it down to just sexual things. Anyhow, I put that out there, and I don't know why I did. I guess because sometimes I tell myself, oh, stop putting such personal stuff on Facebook, but you know what? I can't help it. I'm a whore for that. An attention whore. I'll be the first to admit it. So I guess I didn't know, since I put in the status, don't tell me how, oh, but you're cute and handsome and attractive and, because that's what I expected. I expected that that's what I was going to get, some pity. And maybe I'll be honest, maybe I put it up there in order to get that. Maybe I needed to get that. But, honestly, just because you tell me I'm handsome, I believe it. But, that still doesn't mean that you find me physically attractive, as in you would want to go to bed to me. I wanted like really shallow good looks. I always make a joke that said I wasn't blessed with really good looks and hard abs because I probably wouldn't be the person I was today. I'd probably be an asshole and I'd fuck around. And honestly, I probably would. And I think that's fair, that I'm honest like that. So anyhow, I put that status on my Facebook. Not even sure exactly what I was going to get, but probably because I was hoping for some pity and people saying, you're cute, but yeah. But what happened actually surprised me because, yeah, I did get the odd person telling me, but you are good looking, you are handsome, a lot of people would want to be with you. But I was surprised that I got a lot of responses that said, I get what you're saying. I want that too. And they were starting to come in more and more about how, yeah, it is shallow, Devlin, but I dream of that too. Now, the thing that surprised me was a lot of the people that were saying this were people I consider hot. That I say to myself, God, that guy or that woman is so attractive. And yet, I was seeing them saying the same thing. Like, yeah, I would like to be desirable too for a day. I totally agree on you on this. And that's where I decided I needed to talk about this because it made me realize that it doesn't matter how good you look. There's going to be people that still don't feel as good looking as they are. And I guess this kind of worked in some ways for me because I realized that people I thought were attractive and I'd like to, be with them and stuff were telling me that they didn't feel like that. And it opened up my eyes to the fact that, wow, maybe there are people who actually look at me and think that, but I'm not alone. And one of the things I love doing about this show is doing topics that I touch people on things that they don't think about all the time. And it really opened my eyes to think that there are really attractive people out there who feel the same way. So they don't feel as attractive. Now, I totally get that because I have always heard that, guys or women or men who lose weight, that when they lose the weight and they can have a smashing looking body, sometimes that bigger person is still in them. And it takes them a while for their mindset to follow what their new body looks like. And so I just realized to myself, wow, I'm not alone. So yeah, I probably put that status up in order to get some cheap, oh, you're good looking, I do you. And instead, I think I came away with it with something even more. I learned from it. And I think that's even better because I learned that there are people out there that I would say are in a high class of good looking and they don't feel that way. And it's sad because, yeah, maybe it is like, I know a lot of people are going to sit there and blame the media on good, they show what good looking is supposed to look like when you watch TV and stuff. See, I've never had that problem. I've always looked to celebrities and said, oh God, they're so good looking and stuff. But I see good looking in a lot of like people that I walk around with. As I get older, I see good looking in like people that other people wouldn't think is good looking, and I try to find the beauty in things. And it's funny how a lot of people can do that, but they have troubles finding the beauty in themselves. And that's too bad because we see ourselves probably more than anything. We look in the mirrors, we're always, having to comb our hair or do something. But it's sad that it comes down to the fact that, we really don't get it sometimes. We have a hard time. And that really bothers me too, because I think it's not just the media. It's not just the media, and we're raised and, our parents always tell us, you're so handsome. You're such a good looking boy. And we believe it when we're growing up. And some of us, some people take it a little too far. And yes, I am. Yes, yes, I am. I think the most attractive people are the ones that are drop dead gorgeous, but they don't remind you about it or don't take 12,000 selfies every day. They just they're there and they make you feel beautiful. Yeah. That's what I actually think is more beautiful is when you meet somebody really attractive and when you're talking to them, they listen to you and they talk to you in a way that you are the only person in the world. And that makes you, in a way, feel special and attractive. In fact, that's the greatest gift you can give, is to give your full attention to someone. Another thing I think we can blame is that, and, I know it's an easy one to blame, but we're constantly looking at phones. We're constantly looking at our phones. So I've seen people on dates or, a guy and girl together out to dinner and they're looking at their phones. You can't tell me that wouldn't make the other person feel a little ugly because you can't not look at your phone for like a half hour or an hour, that you have no restraint, that a small text from somebody is more important than looking and being with someone totally in the moment. I can understand if it's an emergency or something like that, but come on. When I see people constantly looking at their phones, I know that's not emergencies. So anyhow, I learned a lot from posting that. Learning that people just constantly, that everybody maybe feels a little ugly at times. And We just have to deal with it and get past that, because there is no remedy. There is no remedy, because if you're going to feel that way, you're going to constantly feel that way. I have come to the conclusion that there is not much I can do. This is the body I was given. This was the face I was given. And sometimes I'm downright okay with that. But on those days I feel ugly, yeah, I may look to friends or loved ones or anything to lift my spirits. And I don't think there's a bad thing. I guess when you constantly need it, that's when it gets to be a bad thing. But I do have days where I feel like, I feel so good about myself. And the inside of me radiates into the fact that I make myself think I'm more beautiful than not. Those days, though, when I feel a little bit unattractive is... I always know when those moods come because of the fact that I'll dress up, I'll look good, and sometimes, when I look in the mirror, I'll just be thinking, wow, you look really good today. You might not be everybody's taste, but you're going to turn some heads. And then there's the days that I dress up, look good, and then I catch myself in a reflection. And here I am picturing in the inside what I'm feeling. And then I look and I think, oh, God, I've gained more weight, or my hair isn't the way I hoped it would be. And then I know those moods are coming on. I can't instantly make you feel beautiful. But there is so much truth in the fact that it is in the way you present yourself. Positivity. Having, a little bit of an ego. Confidence. That's the things that elude. Some people, I used to post good-looking guys on my site, celebrities and stuff. And, I know a couple people, a lot of people enjoyed it. Thank you for that. Other people thought, oh, is this what you really think beauty is? No. I think beauty's lots of things. And if you judge me on the fact that I put a muscle guy on my poster, which, yes, I do find attractive. I find a lot of things attractive. I find overweight people attractive. It's usually their personality. I find talent attractive. I've talked about this before. I found so many things attractive. As I get older, I see the beauty in more and more things. And if you out there know me and you're having a bad day, let's talk. Let's talk, and I'll tell you what I find beautiful in you. I think the thing is we don't compliment ourselves enough too. I think some of us see people and don't say things that we actually feel. I've actually gone out of my way, and I know it probably makes some people feel a little weird. I've been at work and somebody's had a new haircut, and if it strikes me in a good way, I'll say, hey, I really like your haircut. And, a man getting a compliment from another man is not a thing, but it doesn't have to be a physical thing. You can compliment the way they do their job. You can compliment them on their wardrobe. You can compliment them on the way they handle situations. And you know what? Those compliments will make somebody feel good. And when they do, it will make them feel beautiful inside. You're a damn good father. You're a wonderful mother. I like the way your eyes sparkle and there's so many ways you can do it, from physical to non-physical. We need to compliment ourselves more. We don't have to just, come out and be crude about it. Like, oh, I want to fuck you. There's no need for that unless you have somebody that you're close enough to and can get away with that. But sometimes it's the little compliments. I start my mornings sometimes, and if I get up and I'm in a bad mood, or I can just feel I'm not feeling 100%, I usually go on my Facebook and I look to see what's going on. And then I see, if there's some people that look like they're in a bad mood, and then I send them a little positive note. Or if I know they're going through a hard time, I send them a positive note. If I feel they've lost somebody in their life, I send them a little positive note. If I just see pictures that make me smile, again, I think you're a fantastic parent, I'll send a little note for that. Sending a note just to say I miss you is enough to build somebody's confidence. And what I find is even if I'm not feeling the best, you can see the honesty when they write back and say, thank you for taking the time to do that. And in return, that makes me feel good because I didn't make it all about myself. I decided instead of just writing nobody talk to me, I'm feeling shitty today, I actually decided to take a more positive approach and try to make other people's day brighter. I'm going to end this with a shallow and horrible line, but I love it so much. It made me smile intensely, and it's crude, I'll warn you, but somebody posted a meme on social media that just said, know that you were someone's reason to masturbate at least once. And yeah, I know people are probably cringing at that, but when I heard that, I had the biggest smile on my face because I just thought, oh my God, some people might not take that as a compliment, but for me, it did. The thought that I could have turned someone on like that, to me, it's so powerful. But to be honest with you, there is just so much that we could do. So, if you're not feeling it today, do me a favor. Give somebody a call or send them a little note, whether an email, a text, a thing, complimenting them. Find somebody else who might be feeling a little worse. It might not change your day, but you will feel a little better knowing that you may have altered someone else's mood and made them feel a little beautiful. You don't know it, but you've made me feel really beautiful. Whenever I see a view, a hit, or a comment, you don't know how amazing that makes me feel. And it's hard. Sometimes I do these shows and I'm not in the greatest of moods, and I usually let you know. This is not one of them. I've had a phenomenal time, and I look forward to talking to you all very soon.